I think we just need to start this conversation with saying that you are loved, you are cared for, people are worried about you. And if you don't think that, there is someone out there who does, and if there's not, I am. Regardless of the topics talked about in this video. I also want to add that I don't agree, I don't condone, and that I condemn everything that happened. And if you celebrated this, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't want to be associated with you, or that I don't respect you, or any of that. I will look at you as a different person. That also being said, I don't agree with everything that he supported and stood for. And although that I disagree with those, I believe that there should be a mutual respect that someone can have those opinions, and that I can also differ from those opinions, and we can still live amongst each other and still be okay at the end of the day. That he can go off being what he wants to be, and I can go on being what I want to be, regardless of what we believe. For those who know or don't know, Charlie Kirk was assassinated just the other day in Utah at a rally. He was in the middle of talking about gun violence, and he was shot through the neck. Now, I didn't support a lot of what he fought for, supported, advocated for. However, I respected him in the way that he was able to voice his opinion and allow for others to voice their opinion and give them a platform to be able to do so, and still at the end of the day allow them to live the way that they want to live, despite disagreeing with those people. And the thing that inspires me is that he made it feel as though anyone could do what he did and be in his position. And with what happened now implies that if you were to follow your dream, you are going to be killed for it. That is the bar that is now set. And I can understand disagreeing with someone, and I can understand being completely upset and angry that this person feels this way because they disagree with what you believe in. And I get that. However, they're allowed to feel that way. The lesser debate of pineapple on pizza, I don't give a shit. I don't like the taste of it, but that's fine. A lot of people do, and that's not a problem. That's not something that you should be murdered for. I understand this is more extreme, that a lot of people didn't like, but it's the same principle. He was killed for having an opinion on something. The thing that worries me with where this could go, and probably will go based off of the response of it, is that I'll give an example. When the Joker in 2019 came out, I related to that character being bullied and picked on and treated poorly by society, and getting to a point where he was the voice for the voiceless, and being this. If you relate it to the character, it was inspiring. However, he murdered people on the way to get there. You shouldn't be inspired by that. But to me, it did. That does not mean I'm going to murder people. But I think that if I were able to be inspired by a thing, even including someone murdering someone, I'm pretty sure other people could be inspired for the same thing. And with the response of people celebrating, laughing, and cheering, there's bound to be others who were inspired by what happened. And that's the scary part. I have a friend who generally leans left. I told them about his passing, and their response was, well, it's sad, but karma. But then this death will cause less deaths because of him promoting, advocating, supporting these ideologies that then provoke violence in others to, you know, my rebuttal to that. He is not the one in control of their actions. If other people have the emotional reaction to then inflict violence, that is on those individuals, not the person who said the thing. I've seen comments where, oh, that sucks. Anyways, what about these people? What about the school shootings that happen? What about Gaza or Palestine? Why are we worrying about one person when there's all of these other things going on? My personal opinion, if you don't like it, it's where we're at now. School shootings will continue to happen until we fix the mental health crisis. This is not a gun problem. This is not gun control problem. This is not gun rights problem. This is a mental health problem. If you are constantly bullied and no one cares about you, you're going to lash out and try and get attention. How do you get attention? So if you check on people, you care about people, you talk to people, you engage in conversations with people, then they won't feel this way for them to lash out in that way. The other side, what about Palestine? What about Gaza? What about all of these other people? You yourself cannot change what is going on across the world. Regardless if you're over there talking about here or you're here talking about there, you can definitely put down a signature, you can say something, you can advocate for something, but you yourself cannot change what is going on across the world. Me saying that doesn't mean that I disagree with those efforts. However, expecting others to create change when they can't cause change is not fair on them because they also can't do anything. I think with this being the political episode, I think I should probably pin up some ideas so that you guys are aware of where I stand on things. At the end of the day, these are what I think. I'm not here to influence others, and that is that. I support abortion. I don't think that it should be late term. I think at a certain point, I think it also depends on circumstance and the context. Also, I don't care what other people decide to do with their pregnancy because I am not that relationship. I don't know their situation, and who am I to say how they run their relationship? In the event that I am in a relationship and that is the scenario that I am in, then me and said person are going to talk about what is going on. There's a conversation there. With that, I would rather have a choice in being able to decide rather than to completely take it away and then no, we can't decide because it doesn't revolve around me, it revolves around others. Give people the choice to decide because they are allowed to choose. That's freedom. I am pro-guns. I don't own one, mainly because I'm afraid of having one because if I were to get sad, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, you shouldn't have one. I also think, too, it is dependent on the scenario of which you have said gun. If your whole point of having a gun is self-defense, you don't need... It's overkill. If you're going out shooting, you're going to need a gun for a specific situation of how you're hunting. Bigger the gun for the bigger the animal, smaller the gun for the smaller animal. Guns have the ability to kill people, but it's not the guns themselves acting on their own that kill people, but only because people are using the guns as weapons, tools to be able to kill said people. Same thing with cars. Cars can kill people. Cars don't kill people. Unless it's self-driving and it malfunctions. Then is it the car that killed them or the person that programmed the car and didn't do it right? I don't have a problem with religion. I have a problem with trying to assert yourself onto others to try and convert them to what your belief is. You can advocate for yourself. You can say these specific reasons, but to be like, no, you need to believe what I believe, that is the problem. And that's why we have wars. I don't think that there's one religion that rules them all, and I don't think there is a religion that is the correct religion. I think within the context of how you believe in said religion, you will go where you think you're gonna go. Am I religious? I believe that there is a higher power of some sort, but who knows? I was raised Lutheran, which is a branch of Christianity, but that was forced on me as a kid. Immigration, I think that we should have closed borders. If people want to live here, they need to go through the process of being able to live here. I do think that the process needs to be shorter. I think that that is a huge part of the reason why we have so much immigration. I think that if you are here illegally, that you should have to go back because you're here illegally, go through the process, so on and so on. We also need to try and shorten the process. I think that we should have free healthcare. I think that there is a way to do it. I don't know all of the minutia and the science of that, how all that works, but I think that we should have free healthcare because I don't like having to pay a lot of money just to be able to go to the doctor. If you make it cheaper, then more people are more inclined to then get checked, which then would equate more money. I think you should be allowed to marry whoever you want to marry. If it's two guys, two girls, a guy and a girl, 3 different people, people, 5 different people, however that's gonna work, should be able to love who you love. It's the freedom of being able to decide that and choose that and feel that. The gender thing, I feel like, is a tricky situation. If you feel as though you want to be the opposite gender, or even a gender that's not a gender or whatever, you should be allowed to feel that, but don't expect others to follow suit in that. I think that in your immediate people, if they respect you to do that, then cool. If not, that's not an expectation for others. That doesn't mean that they don't love and respect you. That's just, you know, also this depends on genetics and the actual science of it. I think that at birth, we are male and female. Again, that can always change. Sometimes men have more estrogen than they do testosterone. Women have more testosterone than they do estrogen. But there are variations of said thing. And then there's people who have both. And then there's people who don't. And then there are people who have one ovary or one testicle or like, you know, it all depends. And also, who am I to say what you get to live your life as? I think that there is a science to climate change. If what we learn in science class in like 2nd grade, there is an ozone layer and there are things that affect that. If it gets affected too much, then it causes problems for us. But however, I don't think we can affect it to the point of that as fast as people think that it is. I do think on the flip side, it causes problems elsewhere where glaciers melt, but probably not in our lifetime. To worry about it. Stuff that's going on in other parts of the world. With that, I think 2 things can be true at once. I think you can be sad and you can feel for them and be upset about this thing going on, but also you are allowed to live your life without really worrying about it, unless you obviously have family and stuff associated with that. But I think that if you have no association with that, then why have the extra worry in something that doesn't pertain to your day-to-day life? Same thing even within the country. I guess what it means for the overall thing, I guess, I'll leave it with this. There are contexts to specific things that you also need to be aware of. I think we should just be open-minded and live for themselves, believe what they want, and allow people to be people, because that's what it means to be human, is to be human. And the event that happened is not humane, and some reactions to it is not humane. Please be polite in the comments. I am just a man whose opinion doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what I think and what others think does not matter. It's what you think. They're allowed to change and you're allowed to change. And whatever someone said in the past can always be changed into the future. So as a human, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk.